Welcome back. Let us discuss the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota, a team that should make the playoffs, and I say that because the odds currently have them at 78.5%. The thing is, in the West, there are a bunch of teams all kind of gathered around that last playoff spot, and with Colorado getting a lot better, Winnipeg seemingly dropping off right now, Minnesota having 3 overtime losses in a row, it really could end up being up for grabs after the break. Their record's 27, 17, and 4 currently. Their power rankings have varied. They've been as high as third. They've been as low as 27th. They had that really rough start to the season. They started the season pretty low on the board. Currently, they're 13th, as they've been dropping down over the last few weeks. And the 10 game segments really do tell you how this turned out. So they were 5-4-1 in their first 10 games, but they started off, what was it, 0-4-1, 0-3-1, somewhere in that region. They were 9-9-2 after 20 games. They had a good run. Then until the 30-game mark, they ended up 17-11-2 overall. So they were 8-2 over that period, and then they were 5-3-2 in between the 30-game and 40-game mark to get to 22-14-4. Since then, they've been 5-3. So for Minnesota, they did have that rough road trip, but everybody does. Everybody goes through Tampa, Florida, Carolina, and comes out of it changed. You come out of that changed. And so for Minnesota, I have them as both a contender and a hopeful, only because they're in that kind of a mess of a fight for that last playoff spot in the West. They should get it, right? They should end up getting into the playoffs. But there are numerous teams that are in the hunt for that last spot. I'm just really glad that we're at the All-Star break and there's no clarity on who does or doesn't make the playoffs when you get into those wild cards, and in some cases third place in the division too. I just think it makes for a much more interesting second half of the season. Their MVP is Kirill Kaprizov. I can't make an argument for anybody else. There is no argument I can find for anybody else. Individual games, sure, you might have Spurgeon, their best player. You might have Zuccarello, their best player. In some cases, it might be Eriksson Ek, it might be Boldy, it could be anybody. But overall, it's Kaprizov. So Kaprizov leads the team in scoring, 27 goals, 32 assists, 59 points. Zuccarello's right there behind him, 19 goals, 29 assists, 48 points. Zuccarello's been rejuvenated by playing with Kaprizov. Eriksson Ek, 18 goals, 22 assists, 40 points, continues to justify the contract Minnesota gave him. Boldy, 16 goals, 20 assists, 36 points, is going to end up being a star player on his own as well. I do think that, with Kaprizov there, he'll be overshadowed by Kaprizov in terms of star power. But Boldy's a pretty darn solid player himself. And Spurgeon, who's been on a good run lately, 9 goals, 15 assists, 24 points for him on the season. So their captain is playing really well. There are some questions, though, and goaltending is where I do have that question. And yet, over the last week, Fleury's played well. Fleury has shown he can still play well for stretches. He also has other stretches where his play's not as good. He's definitely dropped off a bit from where he was in Vegas, say 2017, 2018. That's reality. It's the reality of aging too. But they doubled down. They went with Fleury, and clearly they're going to keep playing him. And even though Gustafsson's numbers have been very good, Gustafsson's been excellent. Fleury's going to get every chance, every opportunity to keep the crease and to be the starting goaltender. And again, over the last week, it seemed to have paid off relatively well for them. They're pending UFAs. There's not a lot here. This is a team that, honestly, for cap issues, and they have some major cap issues with those buyouts of Parise as well as of Suter, but they don't have to worry about re-upping guys in the offseason. Ryan Reeves is expiring. Freddie Gaudreau's on an expiring contract as well. I don't think he's going to cost that much to keep. There is discussion of Matthew Dumba being traded. The Dumba for Besser rumor's been out there for years. I don't know that rumor necessarily comes through, because then it's tacking on that cap hit for Besser for a couple more years for Minnesota, a team that, as I said, has cap issues. But they're definitely going to be in the market at the deadline. I think that if they're able to get a dollar out, dollar in kind of deal where they're trading out the money the same as the money they've got coming in, they could be a dark horse. Minnesota hasn't had a run in a long time. It has been 20 years since that run. And so maybe every 20 years, Minnesota's going to go on a run. Maybe that'll be a thing. 2043, we're down, we're ready. And I hope not. I would like to see some sustained success for Minnesota. The Wild have had an issue with getting over the hump in the playoffs. So if this team makes the playoffs, I would expect the reaction from a lot of Minnesota fans to be All right, so we're in, now what? And totally understandable, but I will say this, with a superstar like Kaprizov on this team, I have more hope for the future. And once those cap hits for the dead money for Parisi and Suter is off the books, at least once it's not crippling them, there's a lot of room there to improve, and that should be right about when the cap starts to go up again, and starts to go up by a lot. So they could be a team to watch, say, 3 years from now, but Minnesota fans don't want to hear that. They want success now. Can this team provide that for them? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.